Hey guys, my name's Kaylee and today I'm coming at you with a tag video. I am doing the no disclaimers tag. I found it on Josh's, I always fuck up that name, Josh's channel, Beards and Books. I'll link him down below. I wasn't tagged, but at this point I don't really get tags still, so I just find tags that I want to do and I do them. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Question number one is, what trope or tropes annoy you the most in books? And I have a few answers for that. My number one least favorite trope is insta love stories. Nobody in the world instantly loves somebody. It is just not possible. It just isn't. And any story that bases its plot off of that is even worse, because you can't sell me on a plot that is based on someone who instantly will do whatever and whenever for whoever without any basis in the relationship. Insta-lust? Sure. Insta-love? Never. I also really hate plot devices that are obviously used within a story to further the plot, aka predictability. If you put something in a story just for the sake of furthering the story and it seems like an out, I don't like that. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but the reason it's so in my brain right now is I was watching Shelby from What's My Page Again talk about Cassandra Clare's The Mortal Instruments. City of Bones, I believe, is the specific first in the series, and she, in her review of it / rant, which I absolutely loved, so I'll have that linked below for you to check out, mentioned that there's a specific piece of equipment that is used within the world to hunt the demons, I guess, that are in this book, and like she knew from the moment that it existed that it was to further the plot, and I was like, yep, I hate that. I hate when that happens. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. And then the last one I'll mention is something that can be done really well, so it's not necessarily every time I see it do I hate it, but it's when the villain has a redemption story, because I don't think that every villain needs to have a redemption arc. They don't need to be explained or better in the end. They can just be a villain and stay a villain. Like, we didn't need Voldemort to get better, right? No, like that, no. So, or like Sauron, like you don't want some villains to be better in the end, and I don't like that. So you can do it well though. As I've mentioned before, I'm trash for Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. Rhysand is like one of my favorite characters and he fits the bill perfectly. I'm not spoiling anything because if you haven't read them yet or heard about it yet, I mean, there's no way you're watching my video and haven't heard about Rhysand, but he's a villain all through the first book. You hate him, you hate him, you hate him, and then you love him. And I think that if you can do it right, and you can do it right, that's what I'm saying. So it's not the worst trope, but it's a trope that can be nixed in a story if the villain should stay a story. A villain, not a story. On that note, because we talked about Rhysand, question number two is, what is an overhyped or overrated author? And I'm gonna go with Sarah J. Maas. There's reason that she's overhyped. There's a reason that you hear about her all the time. She's good at what she does. Is it formulaic? Sure. But the woman can pump out giant ass books so fast that you can't really fault her for it. But she's overhyped. You really can't talk to anyone that reads fantasy, specifically YA fantasy, even though it's new adult fantasy, and not hear about Sarah J. Maas. End of story. Question number three is, what are your least favorite books that you have read since joining BookTube? I have not been here long, so my pool to choose from is very small, and this will be no surprise to anybody that's watched all of my videos in the past, but Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller is my number one least favorite book that I've read so far the past 2 months. refer to other videos for my rant on that because I could go on forever about why that book just was not good. And second, the one that I always am going to forever hate that I don't like, but that's Children of Blood and Bone. My hair is falling everywhere. Ew. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. It wasn't the book for me. I wish it was, but it wasn't. Question number 4 is a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. I couldn't really find one that like I was revving for the book the whole time and then the end was like, what the F? But I went with Roses of May by Dot Hutchinson, which is the sequel to A Butterfly Garden and is part of a trilogy with which I haven't read the 3rd book, but it's a thriller, Roses of May, and I really, really love The Butterfly Garden. Like, it was so uniquely done and it was so messed up, but Roses of May kind of fell short, though I cared enough to get through it because I thought it would maybe impact me as much as the first book did if I just got to the end. And then I got to the end and it's a thriller, so it's supposed to be like, and it was more like, it was disappointing. I'm not like gunning to read the 3rd book. It's on my TBR, but like not anywhere near the top. Secondarily, another thriller, because I think that's the easiest kind of book that you can get disappointed by the end, is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. It got a lot of hype when it first came out, and then it fell off real fast, and probably because the ending was very much, what? There was such build, and the story was fascinating, and though a little repetitive, the end just took it to something that it wasn't ever until it happened. And I'm not gonna spoil it because it's a big spoiler, but if you're gonna end it the way it was ended, you gotta carry it through the beginning of the story, and it just didn't work. And I don't know, I'll maybe give Sarah Pinborough another chance in another book, but like, that just, it wasn't for me. Okay, so the next question is a little spoilery, so if you want to just fast forward to the next question, I'd go like 20 or 30 seconds ahead. But which character, so this is question number 5, which character / characters do you wish hadn't been killed off? And I'll go with 2 series that are widely known, so like, maybe it won't be a spoiler for you, but in A Song of Ice and Fire, we all know who dies in the 1st book. We all know who all dies in the 3rd book. And then we all know who dies in the last published book. And they're all from the same family, which isn't shocking if you've read any of the Game of Thrones A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin books. No one's safe, but like, don't make me cry. They all made me cry. I was up at like 3 a.m. because I was pregnant with my first kid, reading The Red Wedding, just sobbing, nudging my husband like, it happened. And then I read the 5th book, and I might have also been pregnant with my daughter, which is my 2nd kid, and then just like, fuck me up, dude. That's what it was. That's it. We'll move on to Harry Potter, because everybody knows Harry Potter, and if you haven't read it yet, then like, I don't know, I don't even feel bad spoiling for you, but the entire Deathly Hallows is like, what were you thinking, J.K. Rowling? You don't kill the owl. Hedwig should not have died. There's like senseless death right there. You know, bawling in the first 30 pages. And then obviously the war, you didn't have to kill a twin. Like, shatter everybody's heart, why don't you? And then Lupin and Tonks, man. She was gonna have a baby. Moving on. Question number 6, or what are some of your bookish pet peeves? And a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. They're not that bad, honestly. But if you have a hardcover with a dust jacket, I kind of find it boring if you take the dust jacket off and you just have a blank page. What I like, I'm going to use The Cruel Prince as an example. This is beautiful. I don't need to have the dust jacket on to look at a beautiful book. Well done, Holly Black and your publishing company and your cover artists. Well done. Same with I know that I'm disappointed in the book, but Children of Blood and Bone had both a beautiful dust jacket and an equally beautiful hardcover. Is it that hard to do? It's a very small thing for me. Like, I know it's not a big deal, but you're asking for my bookish pet peeves, and that's one of them. Just put more art on the covers of the hardback. My other bookish pet peeve is when a series is published and the covers don't match, both in style and in height. Like, why? The one series I can think of, and I haven't bought it yet, and like I'm all about supporting the authors, but like until you bring forth matching covers to some degree, I won't buy it. But the Diviner series by Liva Bray, this is what it would look like on your shelf. And like, I just, like Harry Potter, all in a row. Sarah J. Maas books, I always say Moss, but I think it's Mass, all in a row. The Raven Boys, the Raven Cycle, all in a row. They gotta look good. They gotta look good. Question number 7 is, what books do you feel should have more recognition? And I have two, well, one's a book and one's an author. And the book is Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. It might have had more hype when it first came out, but I'm delayed on BookTube in that sense, so maybe it did back then, but it's since fallen off. I see it on Allie from Hardback Hoarder's shelves, but I don't really see other people owning it or talking about it often. And man, if you like literary contemporary fiction and you have not read this book, please add it to your TBR. This book, 2 years later, is still sitting with me, and that's really all I gotta say. You should check it out. It's a story told in 2 parts about a relationship, and what people perceive it as versus what it truly is and the secrets behind it, and it blew my mind. Unrecognized, not really unrecognized, but like under-recognized, underappreciated. Check it out. Secondarily, an author I never really see on BookTube, and it might also be because, you know, he's been around a while and hasn't published much recently, but Christopher Moore is like one of those authors that pumps out good stuff. Not much more I can say than like, I really enjoy his work. Is it like something that you'll be forever changed by when you read any of his work? Likely not. I mean, if you want the chance to maybe be blown away, read Lamb, especially if you are like a Catholic that doesn't really practice Catholicism anymore, because Lamb is about Jesus basically, but like a funny take on it, and that changed a lot of like my perception of the Bible. But other than that, like, his books are just fun and funny, and he's got a sense of humor I don't really find in writing these days. There aren't a whole lot of books I read that are humorous, and I mean, I laugh out loud in every single book I've read of his. So underrated author, check him out. I've talked a lot about him lately, but that's because I own 2 of his books now. All right. Question number 8 is, what are your thoughts on censorship / banning of books? And I don't know anyone whose opinion differs from this, but I don't think that that's a necessary thing to do. Books are art. Art shouldn't be censored, especially when it comes to youth that needs stories about social injustices. I know a lot of people bring this up, probably even in this book tag, but The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas is the most recent iteration I can think of a book being banned for youth in schools because of the subject matter, and it's a subject matter that's relevant and important, and there shouldn't be censorship. I mean, some of my favorite books have been banned from elementary to middle schoolers. To Kill a Mockingbird due to its racism and content. Harry Potter because it's magic. Literally, if you give the ability to censor and ban books, anything can be banned. It's like Fahrenheit 451 imagined in reality, because people get offended by what they read. One person's gonna hate it because of this, and that person's gonna hate it because of that. And then what's the point of art? Question number 9, last but not least, who do you tag? I don't think I've ever specifically tagged people before, but I'm gonna do it today. So if you haven't done this tag before, I'm going to tag Lacey at Lacey D. Bell. I'll put her down below. I'm going to tag Shelby at What's My Page Again, and Biker Gal Books. And if any of you guys want to do the tag, feel free. If you don't, obviously no pressure. Just throwing some names out there. I'm gonna link you guys down below. Check out their channels if you haven't before. I would say they're all pretty new to BookTube, newish. They're all really great and I think you should check them out. Other than that though, that's it for me. The tag is done. I am out for the day. If you want to link up on any social media, Goodreads, Instagram, Twitter are down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week. Bye!